Chairman Andrews, you are live.
Thank you. Please call the roll.
Roll call for February 13, 2026. Representative Braden.
Here.
Representative Erickson.
Here.
Representative Guggenmoss.
Here.
Representative Kelly.
Excused.
Representative Singh. Here. Representative Strzok.
Here.
Representative Williams.
Excused.
Chairman Andrew.
Here.
Mr. Chairman, you have a quorum.
Thank you. House Bill 76 is now on the table for our consideration. Representative Stivar.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. House Bill 76, exception for annexation and landowner objections repealed. This is a repealer bill, and all we're doing in section 15.1406 is repealing paragraph C, which states if 75% or more of the perimeter of an area to be annexed is contiguous to the incorporated limits of the annexed city or town, the provisions of subsection B of this section do not apply. This is a bill to help our constituents out, because a lot of them will buy out in the county. The city will kind of build up around them, and the city can just go in and annex them. These people don't want to be annexed. So that's what it's doing, is giving our citizens of a more of say in matters of that they want, not what the city wants. So it's just repealing that section, nothing else. So if they're surrounded on all four sides, city can annex them. But if it's at 75%, that has to go through the process. And that's the bill.
All right, thank you. Are there any questions for the representative? Seeing none. Thank you.
Thank you.
There
Vote aye.
Are there any state agencies that would like to comment on this bill? Seeing none, we'll move on to public testimony. Is there any members of the public who would like to speak? Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Chairman Andrews and the committee. Charles Bloom, Planning and Development Director for the City of Cheyenne, Wyoming. I'm here with Bob with WHAM. Bob McLaurin with WHAM. I just want to speak in opposition to this bill. There's a couple of different reasons. Number one, I understand that this is predicated likely on a lot of our county pocket annexations we have done for the City of Cheyenne. That was a 2022 City Council goal where we began annexing the county pockets. In these county pockets, there are a lot of properties that the common citizen had no idea were not in the city. And also even some of the residents that live there that were renters or other ones did not know they're in the city. These pockets usually were plagued with issues of outdated and aging septic systems. Those septic systems would fail, need to be replaced. And regardless of being in the unincorporated city or the county, there's still going to be a requirement through city county health that you're going to be required to connect to sewer and connect to, and then hence annex the city. But besides that, this bill takes a little bit further and it looks at areas that are 75% surrounded by the incorporated jurisdiction that's doing the annexation. In the Cheyenne area, there's only one piece of area, one land area where this really applies to in a large area, and that's the Cheyenne, the South Cheyenne Water and Sewer District. That area is a large water and sewer district that is served by water and sewer through an agreement between the municipality, Cheyenne, and the districts. In that agreement, everyone has signed consent for future annexation, subject to some provisions in the agreement, which really makes this protest item not really relevant because most of the people have already agreed to annex based on the provision of water and sewer service. In addition, just a couple of other points I'd like to make regarding this legislation or reasons it's not best is that right now areas that are 75% surrounded by the city limits, they pretty much are part of the community. Anyone in an area like South Cheyenne, they drive north and they immediately enter into the city. They drive south, east, and west because you really can't drive in the small pocket that is not incorporated. But they're using city resources to get into their property, into their neighborhood, to go shopping, yet they're not paying any of the fees or any of the taxes that are relative to their use, the wear and tear on the infrastructure. Second of all, it really is expensive for a city to install and maintain utilities. I was just at a discussion where Governor Gordon, Chuck Gray, Megan Degenfelder, and everyone was there talking about some of the biggest decisions you all are making regarding financing is sewer and water infrastructure. A lot of it is dated and a lot of it is failing throughout the state of Wyoming. So if you look at a county island or a peninsula or an enclave, a municipality typically has to run around it. So now what you're creating is duplication of water systems, which in 20, 30, 40 years, guess what? They're coming to the legislature to ask you for money for not one system, but two systems to repair and replace. Secondly, or thirdly, a single jurisdiction, having that one jurisdiction, it really does provide for better opportunities for infrastructure planning, emergency response, and it removes confusion. Through our county pocket annexations that you've seen, we've seen a lot of examples of fires that have occurred, whether it's been in the city or been in the unincorporated county pocket, where there almost has always been some type of jurisdictional confusion. Having under one jurisdiction makes a lot easier for emergency response in those communities, and it makes it a lot easier for the passerby to understand where they are, and it integrates better with the emergency management system, which is really location based on your cell phone, so they can make sure that the right agency is replying or responding to a scene. Difference with city and county responses. I appreciate everything the volunteer fire departments have to offer. They're great. I really do hope they're granted additional funding, with the mill levies raising from 3 to something greater this session. But usually you're going to get a response of two folks that don't have as much experience in fire. A battalion chief could be 19 to 20 years old with limited experience, where when a municipal response happens, you're looking at least a battalion chief with between 15 and 25 years of experience who's fought structure fires, who also has a team comprised of 2 to 3 fire apparatus response vehicles and about 19 to 22 firefighter personnel to go there and put out that fire. So there is a difference in the response. Additionally,
We do appreciate your testimony. We have 3 more bills today, though, so if you could wrap up in the
Yes.
next minute or so,
Okay.
I'd appreciate it.
I just would like to also note that in a lot of these areas where there are enclaves, you have a lot of renters and folks that are not property owners, that they're not going to have a say in what's happening in their area. So there's the potential, if you do get the 50% of the landowners, that you are only making up a small majority of the people that actually live in that district because they're renters. They might be renting in a manufactured home park. There might be an apartment complex. They will be unaware of this. They will not be solicited in a door-to-door campaign because they're not owners. The owners are out of state or they're not informed on the decisions. With that, I'll close my comment.
Thank you. Are there any questions? Seeing none, thank you. Good afternoon.
Mr. Chairman, my name is Bob McLaurin. I'm with the Wyoming Association of Municipalities. We too are opposed to this bill. Charles described a lot of the reasons, but I guess I'd sum it up by saying that if a piece of property is surrounded on 3 sides by corporate limits of a community, then it's functionally a part of that community. So we're opposed to the bill and ask you to vote no on it. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Representative Singh.
Oh, gosh. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Mr. McLaurin. Thank you for being here today. Will municipalities be unable to annex pockets in their entirety if this bill passes?
Mr. Chairman, Representative, I think it would make it more difficult. I don't think it would be impossible, but this effectively, the way I read it, would prohibit one property owner from effecting an annexation.
And Chair, if I may provide a real quick answer to that. It could. introduces an avenue for protest where 50% of the folks could protest the annexation. The way the protest works right now is it says within 20 days of the public hearing, if 50% of those property owners protest, then the annexation action must cease, stop, and it can begin again for 2 years. Something along those lines. I don't have the statute in front of me. This does put a pretty significant burden on municipal clerks because they are going to have to be certifying that those folks are indeed landowners within that area. With our protest petition for zoning, it's a lot of work for the clerk's office to do an about face and start to verify, are these the real people living at these addresses? So that is a concern. It leads to inefficiency.
Thank you. Are there any further questions from the committee? Seeing none, is there any further public testimony on this bill? Thank you. Seeing none, we will go online. Can we bring in Kelly Carpenter?
Kelly Carpenter should be online.
Mr. Chairman, can you hear me okay?
We can. Good afternoon.
All right, thank you. Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, Kelly Carpenter, Wyoming Farm Bureau Federation. Appreciate the opportunity to join you virtually this afternoon. I will be brief in the interest of time. Wyoming Farm Bureau sits in support of this bill. One of Wyoming Farm Bureau Federation's top priorities is protecting private property rights. As we see it, this bill does just that by giving landowners the ability to object to being annexed by nearby municipalities. We believe having a process in place to object is critical for the best outcomes for all parties. With that, I'll take any questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any questions? Seeing none, thank you for your testimony. Could we have Melissa Ruth?
Good afternoon. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Melissa Ruth. I am on the board of the Wyoming Planning Association. And in the interest of time, I also won't repeat most of what Mr. Bloom and Bob McLaurin said, but I think it's important to underscore and note. Oh, turn my video on. Apologies. It's important to underscore and highlight that the core issue of this piece of legislation, and really with county pockets as a whole, is the administration and the provision of services. Mr. Bloom ran through most of the core ones: provision of emergency services, coordination between the multiple different local governments. That's if you only have two local governments, a county and a town, that touch. In the case where you have multiple cities, towns, that also are adjacent to a county, you have an additional level of administration. And what Mr. McLaurin said is that communities or parcels that are surrounded on three sides are functionally part of a community. We understand the importance of private property rights, stand by that, but thinking also long-term at how our communities function, including provision of services, roads, and just how people move throughout their community is a really important thing to think about when we go through this. So we stand in opposition to this bill. I'll stand for any questions.
Thank you. Are there any questions? Seeing none, thank you. And with that, we'll close public testimony. Committee, what is your pleasure?
Move the bill.
Moved by Representative Singh and seconded by Representative Guggenmoss. Are there any amendments or discussion on this bill? Seeing none, please call the roll.
This is a roll call vote for House Bill 76. Representative Braden.
Aye.
Representative Erickson.
Aye.
Representative Guggenmoss.
Aye.
Representative Kelly.
Excused.
Representative Lawley.
Excused.
Representative Singh.
Aye.
Representative Strzok.
Aye.
Representative Williams.
Aye.
Chairman Andrew.
Aye.
Mr. Chairman, you have 7 ayes and 2 excused.
Thank you. The bill passes the committee. House Bill 102 is now on the table for our consideration. Representative Lean.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, committee, for having me today. I would like you to imagine a world where artificial intelligence is a tool meant for progress, but it becomes a weapon against our most vulnerable. In Wyoming, we cherish our freedoms, families, and frontier spirit. We cannot stand by as AI fakes shatter lives. This bill is our shield, protecting children from exploitation, safeguarding privacy, and preserving free speech in this digital age. This bill protects children from sexual exploitation via AI-generated child pornography, as it bans the development and distribution of those very things. It protects individuals from AI systems that are promoting self-harm. It also protects political speech from AI-driven censorship in interactive platforms. AI developers are also protected from undue liability. This bill bans non-consensual deepfakes that invade privacy and extort victims. It prohibits platforms from using AI to censor political speech, upholding our free expression under Article 1, Section 20 of the Wyoming Constitution. I'll now walk you through the bill. Page 1 gives you an idea of what it does. I just outlined that for you. Page 2, the developers of artificial intelligence systems, liabilities, and limitations. And like I said, it provides immunity is provided in subsection B for those folks that create the AI generated systems, but are not the ones that have total control of them being used, say, within a home or a business or an office. Page 3 walks you through the liability and defense, the unlawful distribution and non-consensual sexual materials. Page 4 starts to a person commits the offense of unlawful distribution, and it gives you all the ways that they do that. Page 5 is more of that. Page 6 jumps to unlawful development or distribution of artificial intelligence systems for child pornography. One important piece on page 7, I would jump to line 19, where it says, this section does not apply to any artificial intelligence system that produces content that promotes child pornography solely as a result of users' prompts or inputs, and without the developer's intent to encourage or promote child pornography. On to page 8. Unlawful development or distribution of artificial intelligence systems intended to promote self-harm. And through this section, we learn that if individuals are being extorted for sexual exploitation, say we had an incident in Fremont County where a young man killed himself because he had sent nude photos of himself and then was being extorted for money, or they would release this photo and humiliate him and his family. And rather than bear the burden and go to his parents for help, he ended up taking his own life. So this section of the bill is rather imperative for our youth in Wyoming. As you continue through the bill, on page 11 is where it begins with censorship of political speech by interactive computer services and artificial intelligence. You get to definitions at the bottom of page 13, where it says artificial intelligence systems means a machine learning based system that can, for any given set of objects, generate outputs that include images, audio content, video content, digitally generated text, three-dimensional models, predictions, recommendations, or decisions influencing physical or virtual environments. And then there's an update to 64301, and it just adds intimate parts. Otherwise, we're not changing any of the exploitation statutes. Synthetic material is another definition that gets added in there, and it means that it is created, altered, or manipulated through the use of artificial intelligence systems or another digital method to realistically depict the intimate parts of a specific person. This bill continues on through the sexual exploitation of a child for penalties, and it gives us the opportunity to then put these folks in prison with a felony. There's no fiscal note attached to this bill because there's a fiscal note of the Department of Corrections telling you how much it'll cost to house an inmate because we don't know how much it will increase our inmates by. I do anticipate that adding this to the books will generate individuals to come forward or to be found that are making a lot of money. In the essence of time, I won't walk you through all the examples that I have, but I do have 14 examples from around the United States where this is currently happening. It's a $1.5 billion industry, and we're looking to protect our very most personal property rights, your own likeness, and giving recourse for anyone that exploits your children, yourself, your grandchildren, or your spouse. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll stand for any questions.
Thank you. Are there any questions for Representative Lean? Representative Williams.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, Representative Lean. You briefly touched on page 7, line 19. This section shall not apply to Romanet I there on line 19. Would you just give that to me in plain language? I don't have a real good handle on what that means.
Mr. Chairman, Representative Williams, any system that they're using, forgive me, I don't know the name of it, but I know there's an app that you can use where you have a picture of a child, say in a bathing suit, and you can use that app to make the bathing suit disappear and put intimate parts on that child, and then use that picture to upload it for child pornography or child sex abuse materials to then be distributed and sold. And so this section says anybody that is using an AI system to input prompts such as remove the bathing suit will then be held liable.
Representative Williams.
Thank you.
Further questions?
One additional comment for the committee, if you'll let me. There should have been an amendment within your packet that will make it so that internet providers that come to your home will not be caught up in the all-encompassing language of this bill. That if there are child sex abuse materials being put out, that this will protect them from being charged and liable for those materials. So I do encourage that amendment to be made if you're willing. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I do have with me today Mr. Schwab, and I would ask the committee if they'd be willing to hear from him.
We would. Who wants to come forward first? That'd be great. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Thank you, representatives, Mr. Chairman. Again, just want to say again for the record how honored I am to be here participating. Very encouraged from what I've heard from representatives about the fight to protect Wyoming's children and hold predators accountable. And with that, I want to talk a little bit about this bill and what we're seeing on the ground as far as the emergence of AI and how it's affecting our children. My experience is 12 years working at the human trafficking in around 50 different countries. And AI is coming at us fast, and we're seeing a lot of different things that are very concerning as our nonprofit as caregivers and also those that work with authorities as far as holding these people accountable. Some of the things that we're seeing, an increase in AI-generated child sexual abuse material, also known as child pornography. The latest findings show around 3,500 new images daily being uploaded to the dark web as of October of 2023. More severe images. We use it in layman's terms as hardcore images. What that means is images of torture, death involving dead children as well that are AI generated, more severe abuse videos that are highly realistic. And we're seeing more of these hardcore scenarios as it's known on the dark web. A lot more videos, dark web forums, a lot more of these videos being traded, a clear web increase, and something that's the most concerning to me is the AI child sexual abuse featuring known victims and famous children, and I'll add of why that is later. It's not just happening here. I reached out to a partner organization, the International Protection Alliance, who has offices in Asia. They're currently investigating a group of young schoolboys who are using AI to generate sexual images of their friends, sharing it on Telegram. and also investigating accounts on X that are using Grok to generate images of small children that are being used to satisfy the sexual desires of grown men in Asia and in the country of Thailand. As was mentioned, there are U.S. teens that are also taking their life after being sextorted. And a lot of these teens haven't even sent nude images. New images are being made of them based on a selfie posted on Instagram, on Facebook, or wherever, being used to create pornographic material and then being used to sextort those victims. But I want to talk specifically about the famous children case. One of the first cases I ever worked in the United States involved a young girl who was 7 years old out of Salt Lake City. Her mother liked to date pedophiles. She liked to compete with the pedophiles on who the pedophile would engage with sexually first, her or her daughter. She always lost. This girl was serially abused for a long time. And in one of the cases with this specific man, his name's Charles, he created a series of this little girl up at his cabin. And unfortunately, this abuse went viral, not just on the dark web, but on the real web as well, on things like X and normal websites where people trade child sexual abuse material. She went through a long legal case. She still gets notifications, even now in her early 20s, that her abuse is still circulating. There's still predators being arrested that are downloading her images. And this this part of the AI thing that we're seeing of the AI sexual abuse featuring known victims is especially concerning for her because she's worked really hard to move on. She has multiple degrees. She lives in a different state. She essentially took back her life, and I'm very proud of her for doing that. And now she's at risk again because once this guy gets out, or anyone that has access to these AI apps that were mentioned before, they now have the ability to take this girl who unfortunately was made famous on the dark web, and they have a chance to create new CSAM, new child pornography of her, to where she could be serially abused virtually for the rest of her life. And so this bill gives me a lot of confidence that this girl, if this is going to happen, she can gain access to healing and gain access to justice and give law enforcement teeth to really fight back against this new technology that's coming at us really fast, and predators are unfortunately using to abuse and create images of our most vulnerable and our most precious commodity, which is our children. With that is my testimony, and I thank the chairman and the representatives for their time in listening to these experiences.
Thank you. Are there any questions? Seeing none, thank you. Oh, Representative Erickson.
Yes, thank you to both of you. Tyler, you and I met a DCI person the other day, agent, and what he had to say was, of course, confirming this, but the excitement about that was some of the things that he's able to do and his department's able to do towards these things. So we're kind of catching up. Would you feel, are you encouraged that that's moving in the right direction and coordinating with groups like you in order to do that? Or what was your take on that?
Yes, sir. I definitely feel that way. I definitely feel very encouraged. I'm a big believer in our law enforcement, not just in Wyoming, but across the United States, where especially when you travel and you do know law enforcement in other countries, you really maintain a good appreciation for the law enforcement we have in the United States, and giving them teeth and the tools and the laws to go after these people, especially with stuff like this, where these predators are finding new ways to serially abuse children, even if they don't have access to them physically, or if they've grown up. I think this gives them the tools to do that. And I'm really encouraged by this bill and by my conversation with that agent to continue to go after these people and hold these people accountable that would do this to children that have these sort of desires. And then in the end, gain access, allow these survivors and these victims to gain access to different healing. And with this bill specifically, I'm a big believer in my experience that there's a special type of like you can give a survivor education, you can give her mental health, you can give them mental health, and that's awesome. That does give a lot of healing. But there's also a special type of healing that comes via justice. When something happens to you, there's a law that protects you. You disclose the most vulnerable, intimate things that ever happened to you. The law listens and they react accordingly. I just think it's a beautiful thing. And this bill, we know it's happening here. We know it's continuing to happening. That AI abuse is continuing to evolve. And I think this bill and the work of our agents and our nonprofit and our representatives, this will give a specific type of healing to a specific type of survivor that's going through this currently in the state of Wyoming and surely around the world.
Thank you. Further questions? Seeing none, thank you. Do we have comments from any state agencies? We'll move on to public testimony. I'd like to limit comments to 2 minutes. Is there anyone in the room? Please come forward. And fill the chairs.
Thank you, Mr.
Good
Chairman. Members of the committee, my name's Jody Levin. I'm here on behalf of Charter and Verizon. Certainly commend Representative Lean for her work on this important issue. I did visit with her about my client's concerns, and I will just cut to the chase on this. Page 4, lines, really, it's lines 2 and 3 in subsection A, where it says distributes, transmits, or otherwise makes available. That broad language inadvertently captures the communications industry. So I did provide amendments to the committee, several sections of the bill where we would essentially create an exemption for interactive computer service, an information service, or a telecommunication service with their federal definitions, and importantly, for content provided by another person. So what we're asking is if someone posts something on the platform, that the platform not be the liable entity. I don't need to read through the entire amendments unless you would like me to, but that is the gist of what we're asking for. So we have no control of what somebody puts out over these platforms. Certainly, once you're notified that there's something out there, you can do something with it. But as this bill is drafted, you are distributing, transmitting, or otherwise making available these images. So we would just request that exemption.
Thank you. Are there any questions? Representative Strzok.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you. I think the question I would have is, I know sometimes, would that exempt them from having to turn in the material? You know, sometimes when you go through cases, they can get a hold of these companies and say, we need this material from that. Is that going to exempt them from that?
Mr. Chairman and Representative Strzok, no, that would not exempt them from working with law enforcement.
Thank you. Further questions? Seeing none, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman. Beth Lance, representing AT&T here today. I am in agreement with Ms. Levin and her clients. We're aligned requesting these amendments just to ensure that our industry, telecom industry is not who we're aiming at, which it is my understanding the Representative Lean agrees that that's not who this bill is aimed at. And so we're just looking for some clarification to ensure that we're actually getting these bad actors and that's who we're trying to capture here and not the actual corporations. And just, Mr. Chairman, to follow up with Representative Strzok, certainly we would continue to be subject to subpoenas as we are now through these cases when law enforcement investigates and seeks that information. That would continue.
Thank you. Are there any questions? Seeing none, thank you. Further public testimony? Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, my name is Jeff Doherty. I'm here today on behalf of Cicero Action, who has been working with the bringer of the bill on this piece of legislation. And I need to tell you that I am simultaneously furious and delighted that this legislation needed to be brought. When the client brought it to me, I thought the AI was a fantastic way to summarize a legislative budget meeting. I didn't know that it would be used, that my mind doesn't work like that. And then as I began researching it for them and realized that 1.2 million kids, think about that number, 1.2 million kids a year are subject to this sort of abuse where they have no knowledge, no participation in it. And it also pertains to all of us. This bill also protects all of us because our likeness could also be used for that purpose, though I think there's a low probability my likeness would. I would tell you that one of my biggest concerns as I researched this is that I read a study of people who were they were offenders in this area, self-participating in research. And one of the things that they noted that 55% of them feared that as a result of their participation in watching these sorts of videos and animations and synthetic pornography, that it made them more likely to want to engage in actual what they call hands-on abuse. And so, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, in the interest of how much you have to do, I'm just going to end my comments there and urge you to please support this bill. And I also want to thank you for all you do for us here in Wyoming. I watched you till almost 11 o'clock last night. So thank you for the hours and hours of service that you put in for us. Happy to stand for any questions.
Thank you. Are there any questions? Being none, thank you.
Thank you.
Is there any more public testimony in the room? Seeing none, is Kelly Carpenter online? No, that's not the second one, sorry. Melissa Patek?
Mr. Chairman, Melissa should be ready online.
Okay, there we go. Thank you. I hope you can hear me. My name is Melissa Patak, and I'm speaking to you on behalf of the Motion Picture Association. The Motion Picture Association is the trade association for the leading producers and distributors of movies and television and streaming programs. Let me say at the outset that we understand and support the intention and goals of this bill. It's a very, very important issue that the bill is addressing, but we do believe it needs some additional clarification and specification in just a few places. So we have submitted some amendments, and let me just generally give you an overview of them. On the distribution of non-synthetic images provisions, we want to make sure that all synthetic images are included and all of the types are given a little bit more specificity. We've also suggested that the provision on promoting, because that term is a little bit vague, that be deleted because we think it's also covered by other provisions. And on the definition of synthetic sexual material, we're suggesting to add some language to ensure that the criminal provision applies to an identifiable person and that a reasonable person standard would apply. These changes that we're suggesting are somewhat similar to a comparable law in Utah that we think serves this purpose very well and want to make that suggestion to you. With regard to the section of HB 102 about censorship of political speech, we want to make sure that if a platform has rules about what material is acceptable, for example, if they had rules that they do not want to see profanity on their platform, they would make that clear in their terms of service, and then they would want the ability to enforce their own terms of service. So we would ask for a suggested amendment to make it clear that if a platform has terms of service, that they should be allowed to enforce their terms of service. Those are the points we're making. I'm happy to answer any questions, and we thank you for your consideration.
Thank you. Are there any questions? Seeing none. Thank you. I believe next we have Sarah Beaver.
Mr. Chairman, Sarah is not online currently.
All right, thank you. About Laura Pavey. All right.
Laura Pavey should be online whenever she is ready.
Dear Chairman Andrews and committee members, thank you for allowing me to testify today. My name is Laura Pavey, and I'm speaking today on behalf of Moms for Liberty chapters across the state of Wyoming in strong support of HB 102, protecting kids from deepfakes and exploitative images. Technology is evolving at a pace few of us could have imagined even 5 years ago. Artificial intelligence can now generate realistic images and videos that can humiliate, exploit, or permanently damage their entire childhood, even when no original photo had ever existed. And this is not a distant or hypothetical concern. Across the country, schools have already faced incidents where AI tools have been used to generate explicit images of their own classmates. Federal lawmakers recently passed legislation referred to as the Take It Down Act, addressing non-consensual deepfakes imagery because of growing harm in our nation. This is a present reality, not a future fear. Parents should not have to wait for harm to occur before the law responds. When a child's likeness is manipulated into explicit content, the damage is immediate and long-lasting. The emotional trauma of being bullied, the permanence of the digital distribution, these consequences follow a child long after this event occurs. Please prevent this from occurring. Prevention is always better than reaction. We should not wait for children to be harmed before establishing guardrails. We create standards, we set boundaries, we establish penalties to deter exploitation before it destroys lives. HB 102 reflects that principle for a digital age. This bill makes clear that artificial intelligence cannot become a shield for criminal behavior. It ensures that the emerging technology cannot be weaponized against children without consequence. Innovation should never come at the expense of our innocence. Wyoming has always taken seriously its responsibility to protect children. As technology changes, our laws must adapt to ensure predators cannot hide behind new tools or technology complexities. On behalf of Moms for Liberty of Wyoming, I respectfully urge you to support HB 102. Thank you so much. And I am here available for any questions.
Thank you. Are there any questions? Seeing none. Thank you. And with that, we'll close public testimony. Committee, what is your pleasure?
Move the bill.
Moved by Representative Singh, seconded by Representative Gugemas. Representative Lean, I think there's going to be a few amendments. Would you like to work the bill with us?
I'll make the motion.
Representative Bratton.
Yes, I'd like to, or I'm moving an amendment that you have in your folder. Starting on page 6, line 15. Going to insert the new subsection D. Nothing in this act shall be construed to impose liability on an interactive computer service as defined in 47 USC 230 F2, an information service or telecommunication service as defined in 47 USC 153 for content provided by another person. On page 8, do you want to do this all as one? This is all one. Yeah. Page 8, line 9. Insert new subsection 4. To an interactive computer service as defined in 47 USC 230 F2, an information service or telecommunication service as defined in 47 USC 153 for content provided by another person. Page 10, line 14, insert new subsection 5. To an interactive same one, interactive computer service is defined in 47 USC 230 F2, an information service or telecommunications service as defined in 47 USC 153 for content provided by another person. And on page 11, line 15, insert intentionally after shall. And B, no interactive computer service through the use of artificial intelligence system shall intentionally. Is how that will read.
Do we have a seconded by Representative Gugemas? Is there any discussion on the amendment? Representative Bratton.
Thank you. This amendment protects the service providers such as those who testified who are providing a service and have no control over how that service is used.
Further discussion, comments? Representative Lean, anything? All right, we are voting on the amendment. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, no. Amendment is adopted. Is there any further amendments? Discussion on the bill. Representative Singh.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is bringing up some really, the discussion around this bill is bringing up some memories from a similar bill we talked about in the blockchain committee in the 67th legislature. And we ran into some similar hurdles when it came to social media distribution and our telecommunications folks. And so I'm going to have to chew on this bill over the weekend and think about those conversations that we had, because we did find that there were a ton of implications with those industries with having some sort of broad statement. And I'm also curious, and I'll have to reach out to law enforcement folks about what kind of implications there may be for the use of artificial intelligence in identifying this type of content as a tool that they have as an ability to restrict man hours. And so, but those things would come through an amendment on the floor. So I would urge an aye vote.
Thank you. Further discussion? Seeing none. Question having been called, please call the roll.
This is a roll call vote for House Bill 102 as amended. Representative Braden,
Aye.
Representative Erickson,
Aye.
Representative Guggenmoss,
Aye.
Representative Kelly,
Excused.
Representative Lawley,
Excused.
Representative Singh,
Aye.
Representative Strzok,
Aye.
Representative Williams,
Aye.
Chairman Andrew.
Aye.
Mr. Chairman, you have 7 ayes, 2 excused.
Thank you. The bill has passed the committee. House Bill 115 is now on the table for our consideration.
Mr. Chairman and members of education in the House, not a committee I'm usually in front of, so great to see some great friends. I bring you House Bill 115, cardiac events in schools, planning and training. If I may, I'll go through the bill quickly, and I'm sure there'll be some public testimony on it. This bill does 2 main things. It requires school districts to establish a cardiac emergency response plan as specified, and also provides an appropriation which you can purchase, schools and school districts can purchase AEDs with. The cardiac emergency response plan specifically is related to the cardiac chain of survival. For you that don't know what the cardiac chain of survival is, it is how we save lives. For instance, I would say if we came to a victim in the hallway in the state capitol and there was no pulse, there was no breathing, as someone that's certified in first responding, I would say, Representative Williams, please go call 911. Representative Andrews, please go get Representative Andrew, please go get an AED. Representative Singh, let's start, CPR, effective CPR. And what that does is it greatly increases folks' chances of surviving a massive cardiac event or a minor cardiac event even. Tied into that is obviously the second part, which is AED. Uniquely, when I was getting a snack the other day out of the refrigerator in our break room, I looked up after 3 years in the body and had no idea that we have an AED in our break room on the refrigerator, which is a unique spot for an AED. And certainly I may move it or ask, maybe we'll just go move it after committee day. But that is addressing the exact issue. AEDs historically were placed, they were very expensive and they've come down in cost significantly, but they were placed in locked administrator rooms, which made sense. When we have a piece of medical equipment that cost up to $10,000 not very long ago, given the mischievous children in our schools, they didn't want them out in the hallways. We all know what happens to fire extinguishers in Representative Erickson's former school. So we have gotten to a point now where they are more affordable. There's more training on them and they're more widely accepted. And with that, I'll address some of the, let me just go through the bill, starting on page 1. Obviously, the title, the description, and I do have some thoughts after we get through this, if you guys would allow me to share them just on some language as it relates to charter schools, which, Mr. Chairman, you're very familiar with. Page 2, we talk about addressing the appropriate use of school personnel to respond to these incidents. We talk about integrating evidence-based elements. So what does actually constitute a good cardiac chain of survival? What does the AED do? And nationally recognized organizations that that promote that training. Page 2, at the end of page 2, we specify the appropriate AEDs be placed in every school in accordance with national standards, that they're accessible. Going on to page 3, we require each AED to be identified with appropriate signage, so we don't have the refrigerator issue in our break room, and available in unlocked location. Previously, it was pretty common they were locked. They were locked behind a cage, sometimes a window. That they're able to be placed on a victim or accessible to a victim of a cardiac event within 3 minutes. This is something I continue to struggle with, but I would appreciate keeping it tight, because I think about Natrona County and certain large high schools there, or even my own home high school up in Northwest Wyoming. And 3 minutes with somebody that's faster than me, they can get there in 3 minutes. So that's really important. CPR absolutely saves lives, but a shockable rhythm is how we're going to get that patient back. Moving on, bottom of page 3, requires school nurses and other appropriate school personnel to obtain and maintain training in first aid. If we don't have the basic training on CPR, none of this matters. If we don't have the basic training in AEDs, none of this matters. Now, the great thing with what has happened with AEDs is they tell you what to do. We had the great fortune 2 days ago to do some demonstrations in the rotunda, and I have training, so I went too quickly for the AED, but when you open an AED, it spells out the steps for you now, which is pretty amazing that technology has gotten to that level. Carrying on to page 4, it asks the school districts to establish that cardiac emergency response plan. End of page 4, integrate evidence-based elements into that response plan as nationally recognized. There have been some discussions related to athletics. Some of the testimony you may hear later today or have heard from other states is it's surprising, but athletes that are youths are subject to heart disease, unexpected cardiac events. And a lot of this push is about later in the day. And that's why we want that AED accessible later in the day when school's over and you have a basketball practice. You have a terrible incident where a student, an athlete, a coach, which is quite common, unfortunately, or a spectator goes down and that AED is locked in admin's office and they've been gone for a few hours. So talks about that. And then as we get through to the end of the bill, it does require AED to be tested and maintained in accordance with whatever manufacturer the school district so chooses to pick. Their operational guidelines. Some of the AED issues that we run into is an AED gets placed on a wall, sits there for a year, the battery's dead. So just asking those folks to come up with a plan to have policy in place to check them. It's very common. As a first responder, we do it monthly with our AEDs on our fire engines and our ambulances. And I think it's something that's a really good standardized practice. Page 6, last paragraph, require all athletic coaches and other appropriate personnel to obtain and maintain training in first aid, CPR, and AED use. It does have some dates on page 7 to try to get school districts and potentially charter schools some time to implement this. I will tell you, when I surveyed some of the school districts on the western side of the state, they're generally already in compliance with all of this. Now, maybe not compliance with checking batteries or having a cardiac emergency response plan. But I was really proud to hear in Lincoln County too, which I share with Representative Erickson, they have 10 AEDs in the district right now. And every year they try to shuffle out the 2 oldest and bring in 2 new ones. They do that as part of their general budget. And then there is an appropriation. That's a big, scary word these days. On page 7, section 3, I have talked to a few of the appropriators. And at least as of a few days ago, they didn't have an issue with this. Generally, an AED right now costs around $2,000. There are many opportunities that schools can use to get grant money for this or apply for grants. So I recognize that the appropriation in our current climate can be a little bit touchy, but I really am confident it costs money to save lives. That's what that's in there for. And I really think it would be unfair to mandate school districts do this without some support from the state. That appropriation is coming from the school foundation account, which I think is really important to note. It's not coming from the general fund. And with that, Mr. Chairman, we're through the bill, and I would stand for questions. I can stay close. I can answer any questions now. Sorry I talked so fast. You guys are just really efficient compared to TRW, so.
Thank you. Are there any questions? Seeing none, thank you. Is there any testimony from state agencies? No testimony. All right, we'll move on to public comment. Is there any public comment in the room? Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. My name is Shad Cooper. I'm a member of the Wyoming Fire Advisory Board, which is the executive committee of the Wyoming Rural Fire Association. We just come and stand in support of this bill. As it's hard to follow the information that was just presented to you from the sponsor of the bill, but absolutely true that early intervention saves lives, and having schools with a plan and immediate access to an AED will impact safety in our schools. As a father with two children in school, I go to sporting events. I've seen injuries happen, and it takes a long time to get intervention. And this is something that's important, and it just makes me feel good as a father knowing that we're addressing safety in our schools. Stand in support of the bill.
Thank you. Are there any questions? Seeing none, thank you. Good afternoon.
Charlie Harrison with the Wyoming State Firefighters Association, and echo what Chad said. We support the bill to have a plan so that the emergencies can be dealt with quickly and efficiently.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman and committee members.
Thank you. Are there any questions? Thank you.
Chairman Andrew and members of the committee, my name is Sean Kelly. I'm going to cry. Just bear with me. I'm from Sheridan. This is 6 years in the making for me. My daughter collapsed on the way into, thank you. My daughter collapsed on the way to Woodland Elementary on February 24th, 2020. These are happy tears. These are 6 years in the making of trying to figure out what we can do to make this happen. I was fortunate enough to be in Cheyenne when we found out this bill is going to be read today, so I stayed. My family's back in Sheridan now. You'll hear testimony from my daughter coming up. She is thriving. I was going to go through the whole day. Don't need to. I did talk to the nurse this morning about possibly jumping on to testify, who's still currently working for Sheridan School District. But being that she's in the middle of school, there's going to be a kid with a bloody nose or something right now. So I know she's watching, but she parked that morning in Woodland Elementary. My wife dropped off my daughter in the little roundabout. Wife pulled away, daughter started walking. My daughter collapsed as the nurse was pulling in. The nurse was one of the first ones on site. Saw she didn't have pulse, called for the AED, and they had the AED on my daughter within 3 minutes. When we got to the children's hospital, they said Emerson's survival rate was 10%. If it wasn't for that AED, with the AED, it jumped to 70%. So currently now, like I said, my daughter's thriving, all-state softball player, very active, wants to be a wildland firefighter, has she has some restrictions, but she was implanted with an ICD and can live life like a normal child. And we're on borrowed time now, and strongly urge you to pass this bill. I've talked to a lot of school administrators, coaches, and they can't believe this is something we even need to discuss. And some of them are from my upbringing. I'm K-12 PE educated, master's degree in sports administration, have coaches all over the world that I'm still really close with. I've coached sports since 2000, every year, whether it's youth, college, high school. And I worry about, you know, the fathers, the grandfathers, the grandmothers that are coming into that school just as much as I do the kids. My parents are aging, our fans are aging, and it's common sense legislation in my eyes. We've personally fundraised as a family for Sheridan High School or Sheridan Junior High and Sheridan Elementary Schools to have those within the radius that they need to save lives. So thank you, and take any questions.
Thank you. Are there any questions? Representative Bratton.
Just want to thank you for coming and testifying today and applaud your efforts to help have raised the funds to make sure that those schools in Sheridan have the AEDs.
Thank you very much.
Questions? Thank you. Further public testimony from the room? Please fill the chairs. Is there anyone else?
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, my name is Tony Decklever. I'm a registered nurse and I own an American Heart Association training center here in Cheyenne. There are 3 training centers in Wyoming, 1 in Gillette, 1 and 2 here in Cheyenne. My job as a training center coordinator is to train instructors. And so I have currently about 200 instructors across the state that are aligned with my training center. Many, I also teach, and I teach to many, many people, on average about 1,200 people a year. I've done CPR myself, and I have heard the survival stories and the not survivor stories. The national statistic is that 350,000 people will drop from a cardiac event. The chances of them surviving are 10%. The Heart Association feels that it could probably get to 30% if we just had more people trained in how to do CPR correctly, not TV CPR, because that's never right, but to do CPR correctly and have access to an AED. So the more people that we can get trained, the more people that are comfortable with the skill. To have to do CPR on someone is terrifying. It's terrifying for us medical people, and it is more terrifying for people that do not work in a medical field. But if they have the training, they have the confidence that they can do this correctly, the chances of saving more lives is very high. Currently, Wyoming has an AED statute that if a organization or a person owns an AED, that they are responsible for maintaining that AED and for providing training, but not all places have AEDs. And so to get more of them out there, the better. We're going to save more lives if we have more training and more AEDs. And I would stand for any questions.
Thank you. Are there any questions? Seeing none, thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. Sorry, is there any more public testimony after this? I thought I saw some people moving forward, but they're empty chairs.
Mr. Chair, members of the committee, my name is Katie Law. I am a current principal on the reservation in Fremont County. I am also a certified CPR and first aid instructor, and my training center is the woman who just spoke here. We need to talk after this. And I was also a former EMT for Fremont County. So I have, and I'm also a track and cross country coach as well. So I have a big array of experience when it comes to CPR, AEDs, and first responder. My district is one that does have AEDs in every district. This year alone, I have helped our school nurse respond to 6 medical emergencies, and the response time for the ambulance has ranged anywhere from 16 minutes to over an hour. So having training on all levels, I'm in strong support of, and not only just having the training, there's online components where you can get CPR and first aid training. That is not the same as hands-on training, and I can attest to that, where I have trained people within my district, especially the ones that do the online piece and then come to me for the skills check. And in the case of those emergencies, they freeze. And that is never a good situation when you are talking either a teacher that has had a heart attack in the classroom, never good for kids to see, or students in the middle of a cross-country course having a cardiac emergency. I've seen success rates and I've seen non-success rates, and those are terrible. watching your students go into those events and not make it. I've seen far too many of those, both in the school system and on the ambulance. So I stand in strong favor of this bill, with one little mention with caveat, and that is just every time that we bring something like this to the table with not only the financial piece, as that's very minimal, but the training piece, and asking teachers to take more training, to do more, to meet and get a committee together to put these plans in place. That's the only concern that I have as a building administrator, to kind of organize that and get my people to do more, where our PD days are already crammed, but I'm still stand in support of this bill. And I stand for any questions.
Thank you. Are there any questions? Seeing none, thank you. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Chairman, members. My name's Ernie Beckley. I am, in this case, I'm the athletic director for Kent Sleep Schools. I stand in support of this bill. I do have one question under one of the areas down here where it requires the athletic coaches, which, by the way, PTSB already requires you to have the training on this, but I like language. My concern is that athletic coaches and other appropriate personnel to have this training. My question is, who defines what that appropriate personnel is? Is that left up to every school district, or should that maybe be defined a little bit more clearly? It would be my only question, but otherwise I'm absolutely in favor of this bill. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Williams.
Could you quickly reference page and line number for me on that?
It's towards the end of the bill. It's section 6, I believe. It doesn't on my phone. It doesn't show where it is. If you go to towards the very end of the bill where we've got all the lineups. Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
It would be page 6, line item 12, line 13, excuse me. 12 and 13, other appropriate personnel.
Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any questions? Seeing none. Thank you. Public testimony, and we will now go to public testimony online. Is Emerson Kelly with us?
Mr. Chairman, we should have Emerson online and here in just a second.
Okay, thank you. All right, thank you. Is there anyone else is there anyone that's ready now to comment? Who do we have?
While we wait for Emerson, I went ahead and promoted Jackie, and we should see Jackie on the line here in just a second.
All right.
She just left.
All right.
So the last one would be Zachary.
All right. Let's go ahead with that.
All right, we should have Zachary or Jackie available, and Emerson did just jump back in, so I will send her another request.
Hi, I can go. Sorry, it kicks you out when you log on for a second. Good afternoon, Chair, members of the committee. My name is Jackie Simmons, and I'm the Wyoming Government Relations Director for the American Heart Association. We rise today in strong support of HB 115. We want to thank the sponsor for bringing forth this legislation and the committee for considering it. This bill helps ensure that schools in Wyoming are prepared to respond quickly and effectively in the event of cardiac arrest by creating, practicing, and if necessary, executing a cardiac emergency response plan. Our schools can help save lives. These plans have schools establish a team that disseminates, creates a plan, trains, and practices. The school has a lot of flexibility in how they establish this team, who they want to. I had the question previously about appropriate personnel. That's generally up for the school to decide. They practice the plans so that they can be prepared to respond effectively in emergencies. Schools that have such a plan in place have double the chances of cardiac survival as schools who don't. One of the most important elements in the plans, of course, is the availability of the AED. For people who receive a shock from an AED in the first minute, 9 out of 10 will survive. In our rural schools, having this equipment available is especially important as it can take a while for first responders to arrive on scene, and we feel that emergency preparedness is vital. We realize that a lot of schools in Wyoming already have AEDs. Having a plan to go with them increases the chances of survival, which is why we think this is important legislation to bring at this moment. For schools that don't yet have AEDs or don't have enough to meet their needs, there are options for schools to buy them at cost. And this bill, of course, comes with some funding to help out schools who need some. 40% of cardiac arrests in children are related to sports. And I tend to get a lot of questions about what AED availability looks like at athletic events. Again, I want to stress that this bill has a lot of flexibilities for schools to put together plans that work for them and for their situations and layouts and which teams they have. For example, if a school is holding an event at a ski hill or a golf course and that facility already has an AED, the school can use that as part of their plan. The HA also offers a lot of free resources that schools can use to put together these plans, templates, documents, examples. Other organizations do too, like the Red Cross and Project Adam. Again, thank you so much for your time, and I am happy to stand for questions.
Thank you. Are there any questions? Seeing none, thank you. And it looks like we have Zachary online. Corey's not on my list. Let's talk to Zachary. Good afternoon. You're muted. I don't think he can hear us either. No, he can't. Your mic isn't working or you're muted. It doesn't show that you're muted as far as I can tell though.
Oh, now, can you hear me now, sir?
We can.
Hey, okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman Andrew and the members of the committee. My name is Zachary Oliveras and I am from Douglas. I serve as the president of the Wyoming Athletic Trainers Association, and I am the athletic trainer for Douglas High School. Every day I work with students and student athletes alike who are healthy, active, and doing what we ask of them, both in the classroom and in their sport. What many people don't realize is that some of the most dangerous heart conditions in young individuals are completely silent. Let's look at athletes. They look fit, they pass a physical, and they still may have an underlying cardiac condition. National data suggests that roughly 1 in 300 young individuals may have an undiagnosed condition where sudden cardiac arrest occurs. Survival depends almost entirely on what happens in the first few minutes. If an AED can be used within the first 3 minutes of a cardiac event, they have a 75% survival rate. And if the shock is delivered after that 3 minutes, their chances are decreased to 50%. In a rural state like Wyoming, we can't rely on rapid EMS response alone. Distances are greater, response times can be longer. That makes the local preparedness even more critical. When seconds matter, people The people already on site, the coaches, the administrators, the teachers, athletic trainers, school staff, students are the true first responders. That's why having a cardiac emergency response plan and a well-rehearsed emergency action plan is so important. A written plan ensures everybody knows their role. Rehearsing that plan annually ensures that when the emergency happens, there's no confusion, there's no hesitation, and there's no time wasted. Last year, here at Douglas High School, our staff and students had to activate our cardiac emergency response plan. A young man collapsed in the wood shop because we had a plan in place, because we had practiced it and everybody knew what to exactly do. The classroom teacher immediately directed students to act. One student ran to our welding teacher, who is an EMT, luckily. The other one went and grabbed a school nurse. Another went and grabbed building administrators, and 2 students went and retrieved the AED from down the hall. And lastly, another student called 911. There was no panic, only action. The AED was used once to deliver the shock, and it brought him back. If we did not have a cardiac emergency response in place, if we had not participated, and if we had not practiced it, this young man may not be alive today. Just this week, he signed his letter of intent to play college. To play college football in his life could have been cut short. But that is what happens when we take over with preparedness. It protects futures, it protects our families, and protects our communities. As an athletic trainer, I can tell you plainly, preparedness saves lives. Requiring cardiac emergency response plans to be on file and practiced annually is not burdensome. It is practical, evidence-based step to ensure Wyoming students and student athletes have their best chance to go home to their families. Thank you for your time and your commitment to student safety, and I'll stand for any questions.
Thank you. Are there any questions? Seeing none, thank you. We have one more online.
Emerson is online whenever they are ready.
Hi, can you guys hear me?
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Chairman Andrew and members of committee. My name is Emerson Kelly and I'm from Sheridan, Wyoming. I go to Bighorn High School and I'm a cardiac arrest survivor. On February 24th, 2020, I was just 10 years old when I collapsed in front of my elementary school. Because my school had a plan, because an AED was available, and because my school nurse acted without hesitation, I am standing here today. She performed life-saving CPR and used an AED to bring my erratic heart rhythm back to a steady beat. Many people stepped in to help. Staff covered me with blankets to protect my privacy, showing care and preparedness in the most critical moment of my life. And I was taken to Sheridan Memorial Hospital and later life-flighted to Children's Hospital in Aurora, Colorado. And 4 days later, I underwent surgery to receive an implantable cardioverter defibrillator and pacemaker. I was diagnosed with long QT syndrome and will take a beta blocker for the rest of my life. My parents had to live with the unimaginable reality that they cannot save their daughter, but they were later blessed knowing that somebody else, without missing a beat, was able to step in when they could not. I am here today because an AED was in the right place and because people were trained and prepared to use it, but I was also incredibly lucky. Just because I was blessed with the miracle does not mean this won't happen somewhere else. What about the children who collapse on playgrounds, in a hallway, or on a sports field where no AED plan is nearby? And what about the families who don't get a second chance with their child? I do not deserve to live any more than they do, and every child's life matters, and every second matters. With a legal emergency action plan and accessible AEDs in schools and athletic settings, we can dramatically increase efficiency response times and prevent unnecessary loss of lives. My life was not saved by one person. It was saved by a system that worked and included training, planning, and a device that everybody deserves access to. So from the bottom of my heart, please consider helping to save lives by adopting emergency action plans and ensuring AEDs are available where children learn, play, and compete. Without a plan, I simply would not be here today. Thank you.
Thank you. Seeing none, we'll now close public testimony. Committee, what is your pleasure? Moved by Representative Singh, seconded by Representative Strzok. Are there any amendments or any discussion? Representative Bratton.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for those of you who testified today and brought your testimony. This is such an important topic. I did contact the school districts that I represent, and that would be Sheridan 1 and Sheridan 2. And as you've probably heard, they informed me that they not only have AEDs in every school, but also in additional areas. I think, some of those athletic fields, and I am so thankful for that. But I am going to be a no on this legislation because it's a mandate, and it oversteps local control for the school boards who make these decisions. And I would encourage everybody here who passionately feels about this, if your schools don't have this, that is where you go and talk to the people and encourage them to have these very valuable devices and to have this training. Thank you.
Thank you. Further discussion? Seeing none. Oh, Representative Singh.
I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman, were we making an amendment right then?
We're discussing.
I'll just discuss. Okay, I apologize. I didn't know if you had an amendment, Representative Bratton. All right. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Further discussion? All right, we are voting on House Bill 115. Please call the roll.
This is a roll call vote for House Bill 115. Representative Braden,
No.
Representative Erickson. Aye. Representative Guggenmoss.
Aye.
Representative Kelly.
Excused.
Representative Lawley.
Excused.
Representative Singh.
Aye.
Representative Strock.
Aye.
Representative Williams.
Aye.
Chairman Andrew.
Aye.
Mr. Chairman, we have 6 ayes, 1 no, and 2 excused.
Thank you. House Bill 115 has passed the committee, and with that, we are adjourned.
Yeah, that's a good bill.